You're listening to Excerpts from Joyride, A Beginning in Every End, by Frank Hart, read by the author. Thought experiment. A new author goes to a party and blabs on and on about his recently published book. He continues for a long time without letting the people he's holding hostage say a word. Suddenly he stops and says, "But enough about me. What did you think of my book?" I worry that new author will be me. Or maybe I'll be a crazy old man sitting in my room and you'll drop by to visit. I don't know why you're visiting. Maybe you're just a nice person who visits crazy old people. You walk into my room, sit down, and ask how I'm doing. I ask you to repeat what you said because I don't hear very well. Too many years of loud guitar amps and drums. Before you can answer, I say, "Have you read my book? Did you know I wrote a book? I have one here somewhere. Let me find you a copy." I get up, I pull a copy of the book from out of the box, and I hand it to you. "Well, go ahead, read it. I'll just sit here and watch." And then a couple minutes later, I'll ask, "Have you gotten to the part where I talk about being an old man watching you read my book?" See, most people who dream about being on a stage, under spotlights, hoping adoring fans will watch them do amazing things, tend to be a bit self-focused. While writing this book, it's forced me to realize that I'm like Jim Carrey in The Truman Show, a movie about a man who lives his whole life on a giant TV soundstage. His family and friends are actors, and everyone's in on the secret except for Truman. In my story, it's the other way around, though. It's all of you who don't seem to understand that the story's about me. I wonder what you do when I'm not in the room. When you're not in the scene with me, do you stay in character? Do you go to the cafeteria and talk about me? Do you wonder what I'm going to say or do next? Is there really a cafeteria? Does it have chocolate pudding? But this isn't really a book about me. I was sitting in my office one afternoon when I got an email from a man named David. He asked me to call him if I was interested in writing a book. I figured it was probably some kind of scam, but I was intrigued enough to call. David is a publisher and an atomic opera fan. He was interested in the story of a boy who grew up poor in a broken family, started following Jesus as a teen, continued to follow Jesus as he navigated the dark world of heavy metal, and tried to remain faithful as he watched his dreams come to a sudden death. See, David owned a company called VIP Inc. Publishing, and this book was his idea. Their mission is to help niche celebrities who are followers of Jesus tell their story. Most of the people they publish are professional athletes like MMA fighters, boxers, or Olympic athletes. I'm one of the first musicians they invited to write their story. And it's actually a miracle that you're reading this right now, because the company changed owners and suffered unbelievable setbacks in the time since we started this book together. This is from chapter 1, The Beginning of Faith and Meaning. I might appear confident about what I believe and what I think I know about the world, as if I've come to believe what I do thanks to a careful scientific process, or arrived at my opinions by vigilant study and wise experience, weighing all possible options before settling on any of them. But that would be untrue. Most of the things in my head are half-true assumptions based on fragments of other people's half-true assumptions that have just stuck to me. Certain things resonate and feel true. I've randomly picked up most of the ideas that make up my beliefs and opinions without paying any attention at all. It's not like I'm a gold miner searching for gold, or a chef shopping for ingredients who knows exactly what they're looking for. I'm more like a sticky cheese ball rolled across the floor of a glitter factory, or a child wearing sunblock lotion rolling in the sand. As I haphazardly drift through this life, odd things stick to me. I'm the stolen shopping cart of a homeless vagrant. I'm a random collection of pop culture, unread history, and forgotten school lessons. I think all of us are an arbitrary assortment of specific experiences and memories. We're born in a specific place, at a specific time, to specific people who have all kinds of specifically loony ideas that they picked up in exactly the same way we did, by rolling around in the universe and collecting whatever stuck to them. For example, I used to say I didn't believe in God. I thought belief in God was an illusion created by group hypnosis. People had inherited a God from their culture and shaped it into their own image. They got together with other people who believed roughly the same thing as them, and when the preacher counted to 3 and snapped his fingers, they'd all say amen and go home. This is what church looked like as I viewed it from outside the stained glass windows growing up in the 70s. I thought it was like the story of the emperor's new clothes, except no one could even see the emperor. All the religious people were victims of an elaborate prank they played on themselves, and I was the brave, honest young boy who dared to tell the truth, pointing out what everyone else already knew in their heart. There's not really a God. Which explained a lot of things that crazy people believe in, like UFOs, Bigfoot, and the healing powers of disco fever. My family didn't go to church. I had about as much experience with God as I did Santa and the Easter Bunny. Actually, I had a lot more experience with Santa and the Easter Bunny. My Uncle Bob dressed up as Santa and came over to our house on Christmas Eve to blow our little minds. At Easter, my mom used Moses, our cat, to make us believe in the Easter Bunny by dipping his foot in green ink and stamping paw prints on the sidewalk, leading us to the hard-boiled eggs she had colored and hidden in the yard. I was an ardent defender of Santa and the Easter Bunny until long after most of my school friends had stopped believing in them. A girl at school named Anne argued with me about Santa. She told me with complete confidence that Santa was make-believe. I tried to remain calm and explain to her how I had seen Santa at my own house with my own eyes. How could she deceive me into doubting him when I had personal proof of his existence? Well, one day I found my Uncle Bob's Santa suit in my grandma's closet, fake beard and all, hanging beside a stack of girly magazines, which wasn't part of the animated Christmas specials. At that moment, in the magical, imaginary world of Christmastown, all the red and white candy houses melted into a bleak Arctic landscape, and entire platoons of elves ceased to exist. I figured out the Easter hoax one day when I noticed Moses' paws were stained green. This is when I started suspecting God was an invention of people. So I put all the imaginary characters in the same box. They were fun to pretend to believe in, but that was all. Santa, the Easter Bunny, Superman, dragons, God, and Jesus were all the same. They were fantasy. I knew some families went to church and tried to get their kids to believe in God, but I wasn't going to be fooled. I'd found the suit in the closet. I knew they were pretending. I wasn't mad at my parents for the Santa and Easter Bunny thing. I don't think they did anything wrong. They were just creating fun memories and showing us kids they loved us by making a big deal out of the holidays. They certainly weren't trying to hurt us. I don't want to make anyone feel guilty for making Christmas and Easter extra fun for their kids. At least not so guilty that they send that creepy elf on the shelf to attack me in my sleep or put me on St. Nick's naughty list. I have 2 children, and I never told them that Santa, the Easter Bunny, or the Tooth Fairy were real. I said they were make-believe, and that it's fun to pretend to believe in them. This confused them at first. I'd say, Santa isn't real, but it's fun to pretend that he is. He's based on a historical man who was a bishop named St. Nicholas of Myra, who died a long time ago. Then I'd ask them, is Santa real? And they'd say, No? To which I'd reply, well, that's no fun. Let's pretend like he is. My friend Ryan says my kids are either going to be awesome or completely messed up when they're older, as if we're doing some kind of bizarre social experiment in the way we're raising our kids. I don't think what we're doing is so strange. My wife Kim and I just decided we weren't going to lie to our kids, so we told them the truth about Santa, and we wanted them to understand that there's joy to be found in pretending. We try to balance cold truth with colorful whimsy. Does it work? Well, when my daughter was 6, her grandmother asked her what she wanted Santa to bring her for Christmas. My sweet little daughter said, "Santa's dead, Grandma." Grandma didn't quite know how to respond and looked at me like I was the anti-Christmas. I don't think everyone who tells their kids Santa is real dooms them to grow up to become atheists. Jesus is in the business of finding lost little lambs and saving them despite how they were raised or the lies their parents told them. I'm not telling you this to make you feel bad for lying to your kids, but I'm not saying it to make you feel better either. I probably believed in God when I was very young, but I started calling myself an atheist at about 14 years old. I talked about it a lot, and I kind of liked how flustered adults would get when they heard a young boy say he thought God was a made-up fantasy creature. I enjoyed watching the vein pop out of their foreheads.